This presentation is about the difference between doctrine, dogma, and infallibility in the Catholic Church. What is doctrine? The word doctrine means a teaching. A church doctrine is a proposition taught by the magisterium, which is the teaching authority of the church. Doctrine is always a general term for church teachings. And dogma, as we will see very shortly, is a subset of doctrines. And because of this usage, sometimes it is confusing as to what the difference is between dogma and doctrine. And we will be focusing on that in this presentation. Note that in this chart, you can see how complicated church doctrine can be. We cannot go into all of these details, but you can see why it's a very complicated subject. In canon law, we are told that there can be doctrines that are not infallible and thus are not dogmas. No doctrine is understood as defined infallibly unless this is manifestly evident. Canon law 749, paragraph 3. So clearly, only some doctrines can be infallible and the rest are teachings. But it can be at times very unclear how many, if any of these teachings are dogmas which are essential for salvation. Also, please note the difference between canon with one end and canons with two ends. Now let us discuss dogma. Dogma is a divinely revealed truth, revealed as such and declared as such by the infallible teaching authority of the church, whereas doctrine is a teaching or belief taught by the magisterium. But there is a big difference between a divinely revealed truth and a teaching. Dogmas are consequently a subset of doctrines, but doctrines include dogmas, therefore. Remember, dogmas are divinely revealed, doctrines are proposed. Pope Benedict XVI states that a dogma must be found explicitly or implicitly in the deposit of faith. In his encyclical Dei Verbum 24, he says, dogma, by definition, is nothing other than an interpretation of Scripture. The defined dogmas then encapsulate the church's infallible interpretation of Scripture. Theology, on the other hand, is just a reflection upon that work. So now we've tried to establish a distinction between doctrine, dogma, and theology. Let us move on to some examples of dogma. The Nicene Creed is a fundamental belief system for all Christians, Protestants, Orthodox, and Catholics. All of the parts of the Nicene Creed seem to be derived from Scripture and are therefore dogma. Catholic authorities also claim that there are some dogmas which are part of foundation beliefs, but it is unclear which ones belong to which group. The website cambridge.com, catholicbridge.com, provides a list of 252 dogmas, but it states they are for reference only, meaning they are not authoritative from the church. It also provides a flowchart of Catholic doctrine, much like the one cited earlier in this presentation. And this website is based on this book, Fundamentals of Catholic Dogma by Dr. Ludwig Ott. The website for this particular set of possible dogmas is given here under padreperegrino.org 2022/10 infallible. Duns Scotus is a leading theologian for the Franciscan order. Based on his teachings, he would strongly disagree with a number of the dogmas that are found on the website we just cited. He would strongly disagree with number 50, number 56, 57, 60, 84, 107, 141, and 163, a significant number. To give just one example, 141 claims that membership of the church is necessary for all men for salvation. And as I say, Duns Scotus completely disagrees with that proposition. Moreover, Duns Scotus points out that sometimes there are conflicting interpretations of a particular scripture. Faced with this fact, a reasonable person could choose one interpretation over another, or even reject the entire issue as unknowable. He concludes that it is possible for someone to reject a particular dogma, but still achieve salvation due to the primacy of free will and conscience interacting with God's unlimited love and forgiveness. Finally, it must be noted that these sites cannot be relied upon as definitive because the Catholic Church has not published an official list of dogmas. So, to summarize, dogma infallibly taught from the scripture. An infallible doctrine is not defined as divinely revealed. The example is the priesthood is reserved to men. Shortly, we will be discussing infallible, and this will be a good example of an infallible doctrine that possibly could be changed. A non-infallible doctrine is not infallibly defined and therefore is really just a teaching. Lastly, and we just referred to this briefly, a theological opinion is just that. It's not taught by the church, but theologians are permitted to make their observations and opinions known about the revealed truths. But an example here is there are 9 choirs of angels. Let us move on to the issue of papal infallibility. What is it? Well, first, there is the common usage of the term in authoritative church teachings, which we just saw, which means highly unlikely to be wrong. But why does it not mean always perfectly right? The fact is that some popes have been incorrect in their authoritative decrees, or only partially correct, meaning further refinement. To be fair, it is rare, but it does happen. And the one about only men being priests could possibly be an example of a papal doctrine that is not really infallible. Second, there is the popular use versus the technical use. The technical use is when a pope declares some article of faith ex cathedra, which means it is really undeniable and must be believed by all Catholics. There have only really been 2 cases of such an infallible declaration. The Immaculate Conception by Pope Pius IX in 1854, and the Assumption of the Blessed Mary in 1950 by Pius XII.